Good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm Josh Schimmels, publisher and CEO of the Los Angeles Business Journal, and it's an honor to host the 2021 CFO Awards. Over the last year and a half, CFOs have had to reinvent themselves and the ways that they've supported their organizations during the pandemic. They've had to ensure that their businesses are as financially healthy as possible, and they've had to do it in a number of new ways. Today, we honor the great work that they've done, and we get a chance to salute an amazing group of CFOs. Let me tell you how our program is going to break down. We're going to kick things off with a 30-minute roundtable of financial leaders. We're going to ask questions about the state of the financial community, and they're going to tell us about how they're advising their clients on issues such as access to capital, effects of technology, as well as growth plans and other opportunities. Immediately following the panel, we'll move into our awards portion of the program, where we'll name all of our nominees and announce finalists and winners in each of our categories. Please join me in thanking our partners for all of the support that they provided, not just for the course of this event program, but for the series as a whole over the years. Many have been with us for a long time. Many thanks to our three diamond sponsors, Fifth Third Bank, Marsh McLennan Agency, and RSM. Also, thank you to our two platinum sponsors, BMO Harris Bank and the Nazarian College of Business and Economics at CSUN. And additionally, I'd like to thank all of our gold sponsors, 24-Hour Home Care, Beach Point Capital Management, City of Hope, LA Downtown Medical Center, Loop, Miller Kaplan, Finexa, SOMAS, Retirement Housing Foundation, Shamrock Capital Advisors, Union Bank, and Vita Ventures. Thank you all so much. It's been a pleasure working with you. As you know, we can't do this without your support, and thank you for recognizing the importance of this program. Okay, we're going to hop right into things. I want to introduce you to our panels. Please meet Brandon Ferreira, Southern California Market Executive, Middle Market Banking for Fifth Third Bank. Brian Haggerty, Principal Managing Director, Los Angeles Employee Benefits Division with Marsh McLennan Agency. And Nelly Montoya, Director, Management Consulting and Financial Services Senior Analyst with RSM. Thank you so much to all three of you for being here today. All right, we're going to jump right in. I'd like to start the first question off, and I'm going to address it to the entire group. How has the global pandemic most impacted your clients? So perhaps tell us what you initially saw and how has that changed today? Nelly, let's start off with you.
Sure thing. Thank you, Josh. I'm delighted to be here today and to share the spotlight at this minute with Brandon and Brian. So in terms of how our clients are dealing with the pandemic, as you'd imagine, we RSM serve the middle market, which makes up about 40% of our GDP and employs a large majority of all of our communities. And because of that, our focus tends to be middle market, and at least for me, my focus is financial services. In terms of the clients that we serve, they're in all sorts of industries. And as you would imagine, all of them experience the pandemic, but all of them very unequally. So the best way that I can describe it is if you think of a the letter K, those companies that are in the top part of the K are those industries that are highly digital, that they were able to pivot to working from home very, very quickly. Whereas we also serve industries that are in the lower part of the K, so those in hospitality and retail, and those are still struggling with the tight labor force, with getting back reopenings, closings, lack of travel, and all of that. But then in terms of looking forward, back in a few years ago, we developed the Middle Market Business Index, and it basically takes a pulse of how middle market leaders are feeling about the economy. And it looks at currently and then future outlook. And for the first time this August, the reading is 145. And basically the index is anything above 100 is great news, anything below 100 is not so good news. So the fact that it reached an all-time high means that a lot of leaders are feeling very, very optimistic about the future outlook.
Thank you so much, Brandon. What did you see and what are you seeing today?
Yeah, gosh, when I think about what I saw initially, I mean, it's what we all saw, right? Leaders had to reinvent themselves. They had to pivot and adjust on the fly. And it's been just such an interesting time getting through a pandemic that's now, I guess, a year and a half into it. But what we're seeing is really, a lot of it really echoes what you see in the news and what's been getting a good amount of coverage. It's really supply chain issues are the biggest impact, and they're not affecting everyone equally. They're not affecting companies at the same time or in the same way. And so that's today the biggest impact is supply chain, the impact that's having on pricing and inputs, really still weaving its way through our economy and still trying to find, hopefully sooner rather than later, a normalized spot to get back to normal. And then, I'll echo what Nellie says. Labor as well. Labor's been really impacted by a number of factors, the stimulus programs, just a change in worker psychology and desire to play different roles. And so we're seeing a lot of companies still adjust to that. The one thing I will say, like any challenge, the well-positioned companies with strong balance sheet, great management teams have been able to find opportunities to separate themselves. So continues to be an overly interesting time.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. I mean, we spoke quickly before this program started. It doesn't take much to look out into the ocean, and we're quickly reminded about the challenges that are occurring within the supply chain all across the board, whether it starts from the shipping containers to the ports to the shortage in drivers and trucks. It's across, and so that I think is going to continue for quite a while. Brian, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of what both Brandon and Nellie said. I mean, obviously with our clients, you have a number of industries represented there, and some are thriving financially, others are struggling to keep their doors open. But, a majority of them did have to manage and learn how to manage to conduct business from a work-at-home environment. Maintaining relationships over Zoom and having that connectivity of face-to-face, posed a challenge. I think, too, what I started to hear a lot more from my clients was the topic of mental health. It's always been a topic of conversation, in the past, but during the pandemic has become really top of mind, and an area of concern for all of our clients. The challenge of managing, the mental health of your workforce, as well as providing employees with resources and benefits to help them manage their own mental health. It's definitely impacted our clients. And I think really the thing I keep hearing as we talk about what's going on today and what are the challenges is, how are we answering the question, how do we return to work? The pandemic's created a very competitive business environment for getting new talent. So, there's hesitation, there's challenges that everybody's trying to solve for. What is the best return to work strategy to implement that in the end doesn't negatively impact their ability to retain their top talent, because it's a really competitive market out there.
Yeah, I think we're all seeing that across the board. Just about every industry is reporting back that there are significant challenges, not only getting the workforce back in the offices, but also with recruiting new talent. And that moves us into the next question. Over the last 18 months, we've seen the role of the CFO change even more so than we saw in the previous 5 years, which also had a lot of changes. So with so many people working remotely today, and so many changes in our communities, CFOs now seem to be need to be much more knowledgeable in new areas such as cybersecurity, social responsibility, generational differences within a workforce, and even sustainability. This is all in addition to their core financial responsibilities. How do you begin to prioritize these, and how do you align these sometimes competing priorities within your firm's strategy? Nellie, do you want to take a shot at that?
Sure. Josh, you just mentioned so many concerns, and I almost think that you probably didn't mention a lot of other things that are keeping up CFOs at night. So I'll take a stab at this one, and I'll answer it with my change management hat. And what I would say is any sort of change that requires our employees, colleagues to work in new ways end up leading to a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? How do I actually do my job? How do I learn a new system? And is my employment at stake here? But all of these things are really, really important, and it becomes difficult to prioritize. So I go back to my change management specialism, and I think of there are 3 projects that most companies undertake. The first one is a regulatory project. A change has to be made, and you have no change but to adapt. The other one are really good ideas with a good budget, but most of those tend to be siloed. Maybe marketing is working on a project, maybe sales is working on a project. And then the third one is what are initiatives that are imperative to the strategy of the firm? And I think that's the difficulty, getting to that, working to those projects. So I would say what I tell my clients, that you need to think about what is your definition of success? And is that definition of success the same one across all of your leadership team? Because if your employees are getting different definitions of success, they're going to be pulled in a million directions. And Brian just alluded to the fact that it's been the mental health issues that a lot of our colleagues and employees are seeing. I mean, we can't no longer keep quiet about it because they're quite evident now. And so they are a challenge. So I would say, think about what are these strategic imperatives, and then think about what is your definition of success? Is that aligned across all of the leaders? And then if there are many, many things that you need to keep track of, then figure out what order do you need to do them in. And then hopefully that is helpful.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, Nellie. It really starts off with communication, both internal and then sort of down the chain. Brian, what about you? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I think it's extremely hard to have a one-size-fits-all prioritization. You know, long-term, if you're in the service industry like we are, really, we're competing hard for talent. You know, the issues around, generational differences in the workforce become paramount. You know, Gen Y and Gen Z care about social responsibility, sustainability, making a difference in the world, global warming. You know, and if for us, if leadership does not care about these issues, the long-term viability of our organization or any company is at risk. So, I mean, that's really important. And, to touch upon cybersecurity risk, that is top of mind, but it also varies significantly by industry, from important to supremely critical. Cybersecurity is something that's, definitely a day-to-day issue, which can be solved by hiring, outstanding IT professionals like we do, or consultants, or as well as can be supported by insurance brokers like us.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to manage today, and it's clear that our CFOs in operating in today's world have evolved quite a bit. I want to shift for a moment. One of the things that the LA Business Journal has written a lot about over the last couple of years, in particular the last 12 months, we're seeing a lot of mergers and acquisitions that are occurring at a higher rate right now. I'd like to ask Brandon, what's your view on the M&A market today?
Yeah, appreciate that, Josh. I think the M&A market is as hot as it's ever been. And I'll go out on a limb and say I bet some records will be set in Q4 this year with deals closing. Just from the intel that I can see on the ground, the investment banking community has done a great job of helping prepare companies for this market, and really there's a lot of sellers who are tax motivated to consider some sort of M&A at this stage in the cycle of politics and tax policy. So we see, capacity within the investment banking sector has been sold out, and it's been sold out for a while. If your deal's not in process, good luck with not just the banking side, but the service providers around it. It is as robust of a market as we've ever seen. And it's the tax side, but it's also, the market continues to be extremely liquid. I did a quick check preparing for today, and with private equity LP commitments to co-invest, dry powder continues to be above $1 trillion, searching for M&A opportunities. And so we see that across the market. And it's been a very, very rabid market for M&A.
Yeah, everything you're saying really aligns with what our reporting staff has been sharing with us, and they continue to write about. Among other things, the pandemic has accelerated a lot of other trends, and it's created new ones, such as working from home and the idea of a hybrid workspace that a few years ago sort of existed, but today is probably here to stay in some way. Maybe not, depending on what industry you're in. If it is here to stay, I'm curious to know how you pivoting your business model around that can set you up for success. Brian, what are you and your colleagues at Marsh seeing today from that standpoint?
I agree that a hybrid work model is the way to go. But I also, for us, I don't think we fully define what the hybrid work model is yet. It could look something, 6 to 8 in the morning, you have the flexibility to go drop your kids off at school, then you come into the office, then you're back home, and, then you're finishing up between 8 and 10 o'clock at night after dinner. I think the key thing is flexibility of the hybrid work models is going to be important. That's the thing, flexibility. We're also starting to look at defining what fully remote means, hiring the best talent, even if it's outside of the geographic region that normally you would look at. Do we need to build in some sort of telecommuting expense where they spend a few days every month in the office? What does that look like? These are the questions, we're trying to answer as we're exploring a lot of this, but I also think things should be more case by case, which I know, from an HR perspective, we often have to treat everyone the same, but I think an excellent candidate in another state should have a different situation than an excellent candidate that is local and maybe has a longer commute. It's important that we make sure colleagues understand the value of being in the office, though, and make it a place they want to be. Obviously, Josh, you can tell by my answer, we're still working on our policies of what that'll look like. But I do feel that due to culture issues, collaboration, and training and innovation, that companies that have a hybrid model will outperform companies that are fully remote. I feel that power of that face-to-face person social interaction in the workplace just can't be overlooked. I think it's something that we've been gone for so long that we forget.
Yeah, I agree, and I also think that you're not you're not alone in that boat. I think we're all in some ways trying to figure out what that strategy is going to look like moving forward. And I do agree, though, that the importance of the collaboration face to face in the office and with clients is still extremely important and may be overlooked a little bit as we look at some of the successes of the working from home and the hybrid strategies. Nellie, what about you? What are you seeing? What's RSM seeing?
Well, I want to say Brian answered that perfectly in terms of what's the hybrid model actually look like. And I could tell you, at least for RSM, we're still figuring it out, and we're going to figure out differently in the different offices that we operate, in different states that we operate, right? But I'm going to take it a different direction and actually focus on the maybe some of the acceleration that the pandemic actually caused in terms of changing habits, and then what that means, at least for the service industry that I focus on, which is financial services. And specifically in banking, the pandemic ended up really affecting the way that we use cash when we went to bank, how we actually go about doing all of that. And last December, Chase published a study, it's digital banking studies, and it basically showed that 4 out of 5 individuals actually were quite comfortable doing their banking, not on premises, but on a device. And because of that, a lot of banks have to respond to how it is that newer consumers are looking and consuming financial services. And if we look at data from, say, July of this year, there's ample evidence that a lot of the bigger banks, so if you think of Bank of America, Wells Fargo, but even credit unions, are losing some of their customers to digital banks. And I'm sharing this, and I suppose I should share quickly one percentage in terms of Bank of America. The primary was thought of being the primary account for many individuals back in October. And if I asked you what that percentage was, it was about 22%. But then if we look at July, it's only 9%. And all that tells us is that consumers are consuming things very differently. And because of that, you need to have businesses pivot to ensure that they're actually meeting customers where they are. And at least with banking, it's become not somewhere you go to, but something you do. Usually from your couch or from wherever you are if you have a mobile device.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. We've experienced the same challenges in our industry. The way that the consumers, for lack of better words, consume our content has changed. It continues to change, and we need to continue to evolve and provide new options, like panels like that we're experiencing, sitting on right now. New ways to provide information to the business community. Moving off of that, I know that each of you work with CFOs extensively, and I also know how important, Brian talked about in interactions and collaborations. I know how important these are to the success of a business's strategy. So Brandon and Brian, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about a recent CFO partnership success story that you've been involved in. Brandon, let's start with you.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Josh. But really quick, sounds like I need to hire Nellie and get some consulting about banking, because she seems to know a lot about my business. I like the last answer. But I think one of the best success stories that really started during the pandemic and was a new relationship in the pandemic and has continued to grow throughout is a new customer that we brought on board, and we're really able to deliver to the CFO full delivery of our debt capital markets solutions. And this would be what we bring to bear when a company grows and beyond having a single bank relationship and has a syndicated or multi-bank transaction. And so we were fortunate, we continued to grow during the pandemic, and we had one client who what you generally consider an under-leveraged business, a business that doesn't borrow or have even the debt capacity that they might be able to get just due to how they're managed. But it was a company that, throughout the pandemic, their advisors kind of gave them multiple signals that they should line up additional debt capacity just in case, right? Just in case we didn't know what twists and turns would happen. And the partnership here was really a CFO trusting the bank to help him do that multiple times throughout the last year and a half, and continue to grow and add additional banking partners and really position the company to continue to have a really good backstop in a time of uncertainty. So that would be one of our biggest recent success stories.
Yeah, I think that's important. In particular in today's times where things change so quickly, having a backup plan, as you mentioned, just in case, is extremely important. Brian, what about you? Anything recent come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, just looking back, we've had a lot of successes that have, positively impact our clients financially, from them utilizing our captives to shield them from rapidly increasing casualty rates, or utilizing our pharmacy management tool, which decreased a client's, pharmacy spend by over 40%. But I think, I want to go outside of insurance and highlight one. We had did not have a restaurant client that had, about 100 locations on the West Coast. And during the pandemic, obviously they were greatly impacted, but between delivery and takeout, they were surviving, covering expenses, and as we were trying to help them out, the CFO mentioned to me some challenges that they were having with their new HRIS and payroll system, and that they were just not integrating well, causing a lot of rework and an additional data entry for the HR team, which is even more challenging given all the turnover that was going on within the organization. So we offered to see if we could help with our technology advisor team. We brought them in, and their job is that works on data and integration issues for our clients. And after we were able to sit down with them and their vendors, we diagnosed the problem, and the APIs were working perfectly. So this was a success because it really allowed us to use our resources to solve a problem that wasn't insurance related, and ultimately made them more efficient and alleviated a lot of stress for the CFO.
Thanks, Brian. I think it's a really important. Both of your responses are healthy reminders for us to be leaning on our consultants, on our trusted advisor teams right now more than ever. We talked a little bit about cybersecurity earlier. Nellie, this question is for you. Along the same lines, do you see increased use of labor enhancing technology or labor replacing technology? And if so, also, what types of investments are you making to both upskill and reskill the workforce?
Wow, I mean, this is such a big question, and I think it definitely would depend industry by industry. So I'll share what RSM is doing. And RSM, I mean, all of my colleagues are incredibly bright individuals that have spent a lot of time and energy paying for their CPA degrees, as in my case, their law degrees, their tax specializations, and the concept of you go to a university, you obtain your degree, and then you don't have to actually study, learn, is something that I think we sort of assume that that's the way it is. But with all the technology that is out there available, data analytics, machine learning, all of that is impacting the way we do our work. And because of that, I think it's imperative that we think about how do we actually upskill the employees that we actually have. On the RSM side, I can tell you that we've made a lot of investment in innovation. We have an innovation hub in Denver. We have strategic partnerships with Plug and Play and Octane. We have invested a lot in trying to make sure that our people are upskilling as best they can and then figuring out how we can retain talent, because last I heard there was less than one position per one job opening in the economy, and that obviously doesn't bode well for anyone that's looking for good talented people.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies are probably in similar boats where I'm hearing so much investment in innovation. I think it's really important now more than ever. Brandon, I'm going to shift one last time before we get to our final group question. You participated on this panel last year, and at the time I had asked you, how is access to capital evolving? What challenges exist? I'd love to know what your take on it is today. So, and then also, how has access to capital changed since we spoke a year ago?
Yeah, and as my memory serves, a year ago, I was a bit surprised that despite all of the disruption, that access to capital remained pretty high for most companies. And at the time, I think a lot of the stimulus programs were proven to be very effective. And, despite a once in a lifetime global pandemic, there was a lot of liquidity in the market. And I'd say today, that whereas I was surprised a year ago, it's continued to be a trend and an increasing trend that has seen companies with just a plethora of options. I talked earlier about the amount of private equity capital available, but at the same time, I think availability of capital from the entire banking community continues to be really high. The banks are flush with low cost deposits that they need to lend out and are under some pressure to do so. So my business continues to be very competitive on price and structure. And then we've seen, in addition to the pure M&A market, dividend recaps, ESOPs, minority investments and buyouts. So just so much activity. And I'd say it's been a trend now for a number of years, but kind of like the M&A markets, it's as robust as we've ever seen it. Lots of options out there to raise capital.
All right. Well, you heard it here from Brandon. Banks are lending, so take advantage. All right. We're down to our final question, which is for the group. If you could sum up briefly, how has the past year and a half during this pandemic, how has it impacted the role of the CFO the most? Nellie, let's start with you.
I mean, it's going to be difficult to do this, but I would say clearly you just outlaid that there are many, many challenges that CFOs are facing, and that is so true. At the same time, I think there's a huge opportunity to think about things that maybe were in the background that are now at the forefront. Thinking about mental health, for example, thinking about diversity and equity, thinking about sustainability and how do you future-proof your business, thinking about making the CapEx investments that you need to actually upskill your workforce. So all in all, I think it's a really exciting time to be a CFO.
Thank you, Nellie. Brian, what about you?
Yeah, a little bit of what Nelly just said. I mean, obviously the role has become more hands-on during the pandemic, more touch points with colleagues to see how they're doing, checking on their mental health. The economy is still really strong, which means that businesses are doing well. And like we talked about, in turn, it makes for an insane job market. So it's becoming more difficult to attract and retain talent, which, as a result, we're having, CFOs are having, and companies are having to get more creative in terms of regarding employee compensation incentives in order to account for that. And I think, the market still is also highly speculative, which makes it difficult to guess what's going to happen in the next year. As Brandon alluded to when we asked him, what were you thinking? What were you looking at last year? We've been in this pandemic now for almost 2 years. Should we expect a correction? How do we account for it? Is there not going to be one? I think those are probably the things that CFOs are a little bit concerned about as they look towards 2022 and 2023.
Well, thank you so much. I want to thank all three of our panelists, Nelly, Brian, and Brandon. Thank you for your time. Appreciate your perspectives, your expertise. Very interesting here. So thank you all, and hopefully we'll have the three of you on join us next year, and hopefully it'll be in person. All right, it is officially time to start the celebration portion of our program, which is honoring each of you. It is now my pleasure to introduce the 2021 class of CFO Award nominees. Well, congratulations to each of you. How about a round of applause for all of our nominees this year? Outstanding. All right, it's time to announce our awards. This year, we will be announcing 3 finalists and ultimately 1 winner in each of 10 different categories. Here to announce our first 2 award categories, please welcome Matt Sear, Director of Commercial Banking for BMO Harris Bank. Matt?
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate that. BMO is actually the 8th largest bank here in North America. This is our 2nd year as a sponsor of LA Business Journal CFO Awards. We're coming up on 2 years. Our commercial banking team has been here in Southern California. But BMO has been here in and around California for probably 20 plus years. We've got a number of specialty verticals that have been calling and have client portfolios, food and agribusiness, ABL, franchise finance, sponsor finance, and engineering construction are just a few of those. Very excited to be here as part of today's CFO Awards ceremony, and looking forward to introducing a couple of winners here. First award of the afternoon is going to be for Rising Star. The three finalists are Amanda Delzer from Payment Cloud. Amanda is great at resolving and anticipating issues and ultimately assisting in charting the company's overall business strategy. Nick Tarditi from Somas. 3 months into his role, he became an integral part of their pandemic response team to ensure employees could work safely from home. And Christopher Tumajian, EP Wealth Advisors. Christopher serves as a mentor at Cal State University Long Beach, which connects business leaders with first-generation college student mentees. The honoree is Nick Tarditi. Nick is with us today. Nick, if you can take yourself off mute and just offer up a few words.
Yes, thank you, Matt, and thank you so much to the Los Angeles Business Journal for this honor, and to the selection committee for choosing me. I had the pleasure of meeting many of the nominees in a virtual networking event last week, and I was honestly just honored to be in the same room with them. So it makes winning this award, even more special to me. I'd first like to thank my parents, who, if they figured out the Zoom link, are listening, for teaching me the value of work ethic and really instilling in me the confidence that I can do anything. To Sherry Safali and Todd Kaltman from Duff & Phelps, thank you for teaching me everything I know about accounting, finance, managing teams. I, most literally would not be where I am today if it was not for your mentorship and support through the years. To my accounting team, led by Terry, and really the entire team at Somas, this award to me is a reflection of the collective effort and success of you all over the past 2 years through all the challenges of the pandemic and the record results that we were all able to achieve together. So thank you to all my employee partners at Somas. To Steve Margaroni, our CEO, thank you for nominating me, a very critical part to the process, and making me feel accepted and as an accepted member of the leadership team. We've overcome a lot over the past couple of years. We've had to overcome the continuing uncertainty of the pandemic, and I've had to overcome the fact that you're a Giants fan, but I suppose no one is perfect. To my wife, Taryn, who stuck with me and supported me every step of the way in my career and was my voice of reason for those big career decisions. I am so lucky that I get to go to work every day doing what I love, but even luckier that I get to come home to you afterwards. And lastly, I'd like to say hi and thank you to my 3 kids, Valentina, Ari, and Roman, for keeping me young and bringing so much joy to my life. And since college will probably cost me $1 million by the time you're all old enough to go, thank you for giving me the motivation to keep working hard for many, 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 many years to come.
Nick, that's awesome. Thank you so much. That was great. Great to hear from you. And a lot of folks proud of you, both on this call and outside of the call. So thanks so much. I wanted to just give you a minute if you can talk a little bit about your time in CFO and then maybe the biggest step that you took to get here where you are today.
I think my time as CFO was unique because I stepped into the role and then 3 months in the pandemic hit. We oddly enough had a business resumption plan for flooding in Culver City, but we didn't have one for pandemics. So that was a challenge that I think in a lot of ways was difficult, but it also helped us form and gel as a management team. So that's really for me the my experience since becoming a CFO. One of the major steps I think I took to get here was I think I was pretty loyal and dedicated to the companies that I work for long periods of time. And I think that that loyalty and dedication, when it came time for me to move, everybody was appreciative. And I think, a lot of the success for people comes in the way they leave companies, not when they're there. So I think I left on good terms everywhere I was. So I think that was important.
That's awesome. And tremendous words of advice, I think, for anybody in the professional field. So that's excellent. Thank you so much. Congratulations again, Nick. Really appreciate it.
Everyone.
Next up, we're going to go through the finalists for Startup Company CFO of the Year. 3 finalists are Beth Bradman from Spotter Inc. Beth has helped raise over $30 million in funding over 2 rounds for Spotter. Zach Martin from Loop. Zach is leading their first major institutional funding round, and they are on pace for 10 times the revenue growth in 2021. And Ashumi Shipi from House Laboratories. Last year, Ashumi was organized and funded meditation courses and a company-wide diversity and inclusion education training. This year's winner is Zach Martin with Loop. Congratulations, Zach. Just like to invite you to take yourself off mute and say a few words.
Well, thank you. This is a great honor just to be part of this nominee group, let alone one of the winners. As we just heard, there's a lot of winners, nominees out there, and this is a big group of very successful people. But first off, I'd like to congratulate all those other the nominees for their great accomplishments, and also the Business Journal for holding this event, as this is an extremely honorable situation to be part of this group. I'd also like to thank all the sponsors who have helped make this possible. And lastly, to my amazing team at Loop, because without Loop, my job would be exponentially more difficult. I mean, part of the role of the CFO is setting yourself up for success. And what I've learned in my career, especially here at Loop, is to get great people around you. So create great sponsorships, great teams. And that's what we've done here at Loop. And I just want to thank everybody for this opportunity and say thank you for trusting in me and helping me become a successful CFO.
That's awesome, Zach. Thank you so much. Congratulations. And quick question here for you. We wanted to ask, what would you consider the most challenging part of being CFO at a young, fast-growing company? I understand that it may be a long list, but just, curious if you've got one that comes to mind.
So part of my previous career was working with big public companies. So coming into a small startup company, the hardest thing is making the company switch gears and focus and feel like a public company, making sure we focus on the small little things, because those little things impact the big picture of the company. And just coming in here and making sure everybody has that mentality. And luckily we have that at Loop, but always keeping on everything that we do. We focus on the big picture. We focus on the little things, because everything plays hand in hand and helps create the company be successful from the start to the end.
I love that, the message of focus. Thanks so much, Zach. Really appreciate you being here with us today. And again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Josh, I'll throw it back to you.
Thanks a lot, Matt. I'd also like to congratulate our first group of finalists and our 2 winners. Now for our next 2 award categories, please welcome back Brian Haggerty, Principal Managing Director, Los Angeles Employee Benefits Division with Marsh McLennan Agency. Brian, welcome back.
Thanks, Josh. Good to be back. Always great to be a part of this event. And again, congratulations to all the nominees for this year's CFO of the Year Awards. With all the challenges we've experienced as a business community during this pandemic over the past year, I couldn't be more proud to be a part of Marsh McLennan Agency. Our organization's ability to holistically support our clients' changing needs in areas that extend outside of their insurance risk is what really separates us from our competition. And to me is what truly defines what it means to be a business partner. That being said, I have the pleasure of presenting the next award for the nonprofit CFO of the Year. The finalists are Anthony Brown, Aquarium of the Pacific. Last year, he launched a new scholarship initiative for 10 African-American scholars engaged in studies of the aquarium-related fields. Next, Scott Michaels of MEND, Meet Each Need with Dignity. Scott has worked at MEND for over 15 years, and his leadership has been critical throughout the pandemic. And lastly, Jennifer Parkhurst, City of Hope. She is a mission-driven executive whose sound financial stewardship helped them weather the COVID-19 crisis to further help their patients. This year's honoree is Jennifer Parkhurst with the City of Hope. Jennifer, we ask you to please unmute and say a few words.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you so much. And thank you to the Los Angeles Business Journal for this incredible honor. Serving City of Hope with its focus on eliminating cancer and diabetes is a great privilege, and receiving this recognition really leaves me humbled. I want to recognize our cancer patients and their families for trusting us every day, whether it be receiving care at one of our 36 locations in Southern California, or undergoing treatments anywhere around the world that were made possible by City of Hope discoveries. The resolve that our patients and their families demonstrate to face a cancer diagnosis fueled and inspired me prior to the pandemic, but during the pandemic really leaves me speechless. I'm proud of our legacy, which extends over a century. City of Hope's more than a hospital and a research center. It's also a growing leader in the biotech industry. City of Hope's developed over 97 new investigational drugs, and unlike many hospitals and cancer centers, is conducting its own clinical trials with more than 800 clinical research studies underway today. I also want to thank and recognize my nearly 7,000 City of Hope colleagues, including the finance and management team, whose excellence in cancer care and innovation are really remarkable. Working with them is a real joy, and I'm inspired by their passion to make the world a better place. And finally, I'd like to thank my husband, Robert, and our two kids, Ben and Abby, for their love and support. I don't know what I'd do without it. So thank you.
Congrats again, Jennifer. A couple of questions before we let you go. Being a CFO of a nonprofit is, just by listening to you, is obviously rewarding, but also has its inherent challenges. How is it different than, being a CFO for a for-profit organization?
That's a great question, Brian, and that I sometimes get. What's really incredible about being the CFO at a nonprofit organization compared to a publicly traded company or other organizations where I have worked in the past, it's knowing that every resource, every dollar, everything that we have goes exactly back into the mission of the enterprise, and in our case, into saving lives and developing new innovations. So that kind of focus creates there's another hour in the day to work on the budget or to work on developing plans for new programs to reach the kind of as many patients as we possibly can who need the kind of care that we can provide.
That's great. Jennifer, congrats again. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the second award I'll be presenting is the public service category. The finalists are Fernando Almodovar, Child 360. With over 25 years of experience, Fernando oversees the finance, accounting, and IT functions for the organization. The next, Marla Blevins, Port of Los Angeles. Marla encourages a culture that promotes excellence and provides employees with opportunities to grow and expand their careers. Lastly, Monica Sua, Beach Cities Health District. Monica has steadily grown the district's business, and she leads the way to provide over $14 million in programs, services, and investments to our community. Please welcome and congratulate the honoree, Marla Blevins, with Port of LA. Marla, we'd like to invite you to unmute and join us.
Thank you so much. I'd like to thank the Los Angeles Business Journal for this tremendous honor and having me a part of such an esteemed group of nominees. I would also like to thank my team at the Port, Tish, Jeff, Frank, Sohaila, Trisha, Jennifer, and Jim, and my fellow deputy executive directors and colleagues. I couldn't do this without you. And to Jean Soroka, our dynamic leader, who's given me this opportunity to serve the Port and the city of Los Angeles in this unique capacity. Looking back, I've always been the money person or the financial person within an organization. I was student body treasurer in high school, and I was a treasurer for my sorority in college. And it's because I've always wanted to take financial stewardship off the table as being an area of concern for an organization so that it can focus on doing its work. It goes without saying that the last 18 months have been challenging as we deal with the ups and downs of the pandemic and our nation's reckoning on issues of social and racial justice. I would like to encourage everyone to work together so that we can come out of this on the other side more resilient, innovative, and just and equitable than we were before. Lastly, I'd like to thank my parents, my SO, and my friends for their support in getting through this most challenging year. Once again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Marla, congratulations. Question for you. How did you find your way into the public sector?
You know, I've always been drawn to public service as a career. I was a public policy major in school, and shortly after graduating, I took the entry-level civil service examination with the city of Los Angeles. I did well, and I was placed into the city's budget office. And since then, I've moved around to several different departments, including the airport, the convention center, and now the port. So it's something that I've always been interested in. And I've tended to focus on organizations that are more enterprise-oriented. It's a good combination of being able to be of public service as well as be a part of an entrepreneurial and business-oriented environment as well.
That's great. Now, I do have to say that prior to coming on to this, we did have some conversations with Marla, and I just want to let the group that has the pleasure of doing this. Marla did confirm that you do need to get your Christmas shopping done now. And it's not a joke, as she is right front and center in understanding that. So Marla, congratulations again, and thank you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Josh, I kind of stole one there from you, but I think it was good to know that everybody does need to get their Christmas shopping now, because Marla said everything's backed up.
Absolutely. Everybody get your ordering done, or go local and use small businesses. All right. Thank you, Brian. We appreciate you being on our panel and presenting today. Next up, we have the privately held company category. And this year we've split it. It's a very competitive category into 4 different awards based on the company size. So we have a small, a medium, a large, and then an enterprise level award. Joining me for the first 2, please welcome Dean Chandra Subramaniam with the David Nazarian College of Business Economics at CSUN. Welcome, Dean.
Gosh, thank you, Josh. Much appreciated. It's actually a pleasure and a privilege for me to be here today as a presenting sponsor to honor the region's top CFOs. Like many of you, if not all of you, we at the David Nazarian College of Business and Economics transitioned to a virtual environment when the pandemic hit, forcing us not only to teach and work virtually, but also to find a way to continue serving our community. Josh, are you getting the screen? By the way, I'm not seeing the picture, so.
Yes, Dean, we've got you. We've got you
Okay,
covered.
good.
Video's working.
Perfect. I wasn't seeing. So one example that I wanted to share with you, by the way, is our volunteer income tax clinic that took this challenge of going virtual in stride and quickly pivoted to an IRS-approved virtual model to accommodate the many low-income taxpayers that we have in our community and provide them the assistance they needed. So we were able to actually have about 220 student volunteers to provide clients with access to their services 7 days a week throughout the entire tax season. That resulted in service being provided to about 6,000 low-income taxpayers in Los Angeles County. What is more impressive is the clinic actually helped taxpayers claim back more than $10 million in tax refunds, earned income tax credits, and tax preparation fees. This is what makes it exciting for our students to, while they're going through college, to also give back to the community. Additionally, by the way, I'm proud to share that the VITA clinic that we host was recently ranked by the IRS as the largest serving free tax preparation clinic in California and the largest academic institution nationally offering such service. We are also, the other thing that we are excited about is during this pandemic, we have also significantly expanded our consulting activities by students with the support of faculty that's available for small businesses. This ability to do that came with the support of the Jane Mowan Foundation and the Wells Fargo Foundation. And at this time, we service about 30 small businesses a year. Last, by the way, and not least, as Nellie mentioned in one of her responses, the pandemic actually accelerated the importance of data, technology, and the need for employees who can accurately analyze, transform, and apply the data for decision-making. Consequently, we are preparing our students for the fast-growing industry of business analytics, and we'll be offering a major and minor, actually it has started this fall, with a graduate program to follow in the next couple of years. As such, if you need to upskill your skills, CSUN and Nazarian College is here and available. Finally, I wanted to leave you with a thought that we want to highlight some major achievements by the college. And we are, in fact, the College of Business, by the way, is the 9th largest AACSB recognized college of business in the country. And the college was ranked number 31 by Money Magazine for value and quality. Our financial planning program is ranked number 6 by Wealth Management Magazine. And our Masters of Science program in taxation continues to receive top 10 rankings nationally for affordability, curriculum, and value. More importantly, as you may have seen when LABJ does their statistics in terms of partner for the 100 largest public accounting firms, more than 20% of the managing partners identified are Nazarian alumni. So to learn more about us, please visit us anytime. Now, thank you again for allowing us to be here today and supporting such incredible professionals. Congratulations to all our honorees. Finally, I'm honored here, by the way, to present in the Small and Medium-Sized Privately Held Company CFO of the Year Award. The first award I'm presenting is for the CFO of a small privately held company. The finalists, drum roll please, Laura Barron, SDS Capital Group. Laura has developed a broad and deep financial platform that supports very complex impact investments. Second, we have Dawn Isaacson at COSAS. She leads not only the finance team, but supports human resources and the operations for a faster growing company. And finally, Jean-Philippe Coco-Zebois of Vida Ventures. Under his leadership, Vida Ventures has remained committed to identifying and investing in cutting-edge science. And the honoree is Dawn Isaacson with COSAS. Unfortunately, as I understand, Dawn is unable to join us today, but COSAS CEO Jean-Marc Pleason is with us in her place. Jean-Marc, we'd like to invite you to speak on behalf of Dawn.
Thank you, Chandra. Thank you very much. I'm so excited for Dawn. And actually, she gave me a note yesterday to read to all of you in case she was awarded. So I'm so proud for her, and I'm so happy for her for this award. So I'm going to quote Dawn, minus the accent. Sorry for that, but the message she wanted to give to all of you. Thank you for our wonderful COSAS founder, Chief Creative Officer, Sheena Yaitanes, and to Jean-Marc, our CEO, for giving me interesting and challenging work and the opportunity to be part of our dynamic executive team at COSAS. A shout out to the COSAS Ops team and to COSAS Finance team. I have so much fun working with you. The role of CFO is ever evolving. We often handle operation, people, and risk management, in addition to traditional accounting and finance. This technical competency made great CFO years ago, and they are mere table stakes. Deep listening and objectivity, empathy, effective communication, and a drive for result are skills to distinguish our role today. The CFO of tomorrow needs to understand with perfect clarity where the company is meant to be in 5 years. In an eye to industry and business environment, and ensure that everyone in the company is resourced, trained, supported, and ready to support that future vision. Few words about COSAS. COSAS create clean makeup and skincare. And at COSAS, we say beauty is feeling. COSAS is here to evolve beauty mindset toward revealing, expressing, and feeling confident in your skin. I love being part of a brand that supports individuality and self-esteem. Thanks to the Los Angeles Business Journal and recognizing the COSAS team a second time, and for being a community builder here in our great city. Congratulations to all of the CFO on the year's nominee. End of quote from Dawn. Thank you very much, Dawn. Congratulations for this award from myself. Thank you, Los Angeles Business Journal. Thank you, Chandra.
Congratulations to Dawn, Jean-Marc, and the COSAS team. So, Jean-Marc, I would like to ask you, since you and Dawn seem to have a great collaborative spirit, can you tell us about the importance of the positive working relationship between the CEO and the CFO?
Yeah, actually, it's a very good question. And actually, I was on my side CFO in the past, and I became CEO from a finance route. So what I love working with Dawn and what I work in the tandem of the CFO is the capacity to look at business problem and to think about solution from multiple angles. You know, the absolute risk-taking to the absolutely safe, security decision you can make. and as a team and together being able to balance what is the right place to be and to balance both. I find myself even sometimes surprised that I will take more conservative approach than Don will take, and she will be more aggressive. I'm not always taking the CFO as being the one who is always, internal control driven. I think a great CFO is a CFO who as well has the capacity to look beyond just the role and the scope of what he or she does at a given point and really play a full seat and a full role at the business and the development of the organization, table. So.
Thank you, Jean-Marc. That was great words of advice, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And congratulations, Don.
So next, I will announce the CFO of the Year, representing a medium-sized privately held company. The finalists are Nancy Hedgeron of Clipper Corporation. When Nancy joined the team in 2018, there was not a finance department. So she actually had to build a team and create their financial systems. Next, Kapil Mehta, Allied Digital Services. He was recently asked to take on the COO role in addition to his CFO responsibilities. And he will assist in hiring approximately 100 more employees globally in the next few years. That's a huge task, Kapil. And next, we have got Glenn Miller, Sunwear Aerospace. Since joining the company, Glenn has helped grow the company by facilitating more than 6 acquisitions. And the winner is Nancy Hedgeron with Clipper Corporation. Nancy, if you will unmute and say a few words, please.
Sure. Thank you so much. I hope everyone is having a very wonderful week full of opportunities and certitude. It's an honor to be among all of these smart and brilliant individuals today. Thanks to Los Angeles Business Journal, all sponsors who made this event happen. Thanks to Mary Mullenhoff for nominating me. I wanted to give a special thank to my son, Metin Sophani, who during all years of his life understood that I never looked for balance between my work and life, but rather a harmony. My career is my life. My career is who I am, not what I do. Thank you, Matt, for not stopping me from achieving my dreams. A very special thanks to my Clipper family. As you all know, nothing can be accomplished by one person. It takes a united, focused, determined, and passionate team to make impossible possible. I greatly appreciate the team we have at Clipper, who made us pass through the storm of pandemic last year and post-pandemic crisis this year. From our CEO, Lina Hu, who put her trust in me 4 years ago to run this show, to our sourcing, sales, marketing, QC logistics warehouse, IT, and finance department. They all have been united with one single attitude and motto: yes, we can. With that attitude, we have been able to triple the size of company during all this crisis. Thank you to all again, and it's an honor to be here with all of you.
Congratulations, Nancy. That was great. Can you share, by the way, given the experience that you've had, with some tips on how you created your successful finance team?
Well, as you mentioned at the beginning, we didn't even have a finance team back in 2018. I tried to, every CFO knows how to do accounting, how to do finance, how to do forecasting, how to write SOP. They all have skills, right? So, but the most important thing I found that can be really important and very effective in our company back then was working on culture. parallel to our other needs and requirements to run a company. A culture that people don't compete with each other inside. They all work as a team for one goal. They compete outside the company. They compete with our competitors, but they serve our customers. With that culture today, each individual right now in our company, they all try to serve customers. Each one of them play the role of a salesperson, and all just strive to achieve one goal. And we all have this attitude of, yes, we can. So the whole finance team that we built from scratch, and there are 6 of them right now, they all started with this culture. So united, helping other departments. They are smart people. Me being also in charge of operations. So both sides of the business, they all work together as one unit. So there is no cultural issue, negativity, or any type of gossiping and policy. This and that, they all work for one thing, and they celebrate each other for their birthdays. They celebrate each other for their accomplishments, for the employee of the month. And I'm so proud to call myself their colleague. It's wonderful work with them.
So thank you, Nancy, very much. So Josh, I'll hand it back to you, but I want to say thank you for the ability to partner with LABJ to honor all these wonderful CFOs. Back to you, Josh.
Thank you so much, Dean, and congratulations to both Dawn and Nancy. Nancy, I want to thank you for sharing your company's motto of "Yes, we can." I think more of us need to adopt that, and I love the positive energy behind it. So thank you for sharing. All right, joining me for our next 2 awards, I'd like to welcome back Brandon Ferreira, Southern California Market Executive, Middle Market Banking for Fifth Third Bank. Brandon, welcome back.
Thank you, Josh. Good afternoon again, everyone. And on behalf of all my colleagues at Fifth Third, I'd first like to thank the LA Business Journal. We truly appreciate and value our continued partnership, and we're thrilled to be a diamond sponsor of this terrific event for the 3rd year in a row. We have a strong commitment to Southern California. Over the last 4 years, the bank's strategic expansion of our commercial banking business includes opening regional offices in Orange County, Los Angeles, and the Inland Empire. We also opened up an office in San Francisco to serve the Northern California market. Our team of tenured bankers who have been part of the local business community for decades has grown to over 50 employees in just the last 4 years. At Fifth Third, we listen and advise as partners who understand that your business requires unique solutions, especially in today's uncertain times. Since we first opened our doors in 1858, we put our clients and their business at the center of everything we do. And that's never going to change. Whatever your business goals are, we're here to help you succeed. Finally, I'd like to quickly thank all of the nominees and honorees. You inspire our business community every day with your remarkable success and leadership. And without further ado, I'm pleased to announce the finalists for private large size category. First is Thomas Boyack, with Beach Point Capital Management. He leads the corporate accounting, tax, valuation, and funding teams and plays an integral role in shaping their strategic priorities. Next is Jacqueline Davis with 24-Hour Home Care. This past year, she made huge strides for 24-Hour Home Care by pioneering a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. Next is Jennifer McClellan with Reformation. Under her leadership, Reformation is expected to exceed sales projections for 2021 and continue its growth trajectory in 2022. And the honoree is Jacqueline Davis with 24-Hour Home Care. Jacqueline, we'd like to ask you to unmute and say a few words.
Hi, thank you so much. I want to say thank you to the Los Angeles Business Journal. It's great that you recognize all of the hard work that CFOs do and companies are doing every day. I also want to say thank you to all the other nominees. I've heard many people say it this afternoon. We are in great company, and the class of 2021 is fantastic. I'd like to do a huge shout out to our marketing team, Allison Borrow and Alex Bug, who did the nomination and supported me throughout this process. I really appreciate everything they do for the company. And the last 18 months, they have been a struggle for everyone across the world. And we provide non-medical home care in the home for seniors and children and young adults with developmental disabilities. And I'm incredibly proud of the 24-hour home care team and that we were a part of the solution during COVID, and we provided over 10,000 hours of care to COVID positive patients. And we really couldn't have done it without our amazing team. This award has my name on it, but it's really a 24-hour home care award for everyone at the company. I appreciate the management team and just how hard we work. Our motto is care and compete. We care every day and we compete every day, because the better we are as a company, the more hours of service we can provide. And that's our mission when we get up every day, provide service. So thank you again very much to the LA Business Journal, to everyone at 24-hour home care. And I really appreciate all the support of my family and that my daughter can, see everything that we've accomplished, which is fantastic. So thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Jacqueline, and congratulations. I'd like to ask you, what was your path to becoming CFO of 24-hour home care?
So I never set out to be a CFO. I set out to just take advantages of as much opportunity as possible and to work for great companies. But I found that I really enjoyed the entrepreneurial spirit of smaller companies, and I believed in the mission of 24-hour home care. So I took what some people consider a leap 5 years ago, and I left Snapchat to go to a much smaller company, but it was the best decision that I ever made. So I took kind of a little bit of a untraditional path to CFO, but have really enjoyed the journey with 24-hour home care and getting to where we are today.
Great. Yeah, that's an interesting story. And then one follow-on question, which I think you touched in your comments, but maybe you can expand on it. How has your CFO role changed, since the onset of the pandemic? How have you been impacted?
So we had to pivot very quickly, not only getting our employees home remote and making sure that they were safe, but making sure that our caregivers and our clients were safe during the pandemic. So the risk assessment wasn't so much on the financials anymore. It was, how do we keep everyone safe and how do we partner with our hospitals to help with surge planning? So everything became about safety protocols, PPE, testing, and now we've very quickly pivoted to the vaccine and trying to get everyone vaccinated, making sure they're educated. You still have the traditional risk management of any CFO role, but the risk very quickly changed overnight to safety. That was our number one priority, is keeping our clients, our caregivers, and our staff safe.
Great. Yeah, I think as leaders for everyone on the call, safety really became a priority in everything we do. So great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you and congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
The next award is for Private Company Enterprise category. And the finalists are Steve Ailman with Prime Healthcare. He played a key role in Prime's acquisition of St. Francis Medical Center during a challenging time in the height of the pandemic. Next is Matt Reese with WebCore. Embracing diversity and empowering employees' growth into leadership positions have proven to be two of Matt's core strengths. And last, Mark Sotosanti with Riot Games. Mark has helped the business side flourish by landing integral partnerships and investments and investing in people and culture. And this year's honoree is Matt Reese. Matt, welcome, and please take yourself off mute to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Brandon. Appreciate it. And first of all, I really have to congratulate all of the other awardees and all of the nominees as well. As one of the awardees mentioned earlier, we had a social event last week where we got to meet everybody. And even hearing further today, it's just inspiring to hear about what you're all accomplishing with your companies and what you've accomplished individually. So congratulations again. And I would also like to thank the LA Business Journal and all of the sponsors, Brandon and you and the rest of the sponsors, for putting this event together and honoring me with this award. And we don't get this opportunity very often. I'd like to say my hair is turning blonde, but I think it's really turning gray in my 30-year professional career. But my wife Juliet and my daughters Ashton and McKenna. My daughter Ashton's now a CPA. She's advanced to be a CPA now, but they have been there through that 30 years, providing that support. And like I said, we don't get that opportunity to thank them for that. And so I really want to take that opportunity to thank them as well. So. Hopefully behind me, you can see our core purpose at WebCore as a general contractor, which is listed there, building solutions and bettering lives. And then also in the picture is the UC Merced Dining Hall, which is the centerpiece of the UC Merced Vision 2020 public-private partnership project that we at WebCore were proud to build and help the UC system expand their presence in the Central Valley, more than doubling their capacity of students at that critical campus that serves, in many cases, first-generation college students and their families. So we're very proud of that. I was very proud to play a little part in that as well. And then finally, I'd like to individually thank all of my fellow WebCorians that work with me and help this possible. Obviously, that's not possible with the size of company that we are, but I do want to say it's a privilege for me to lead many of our support groups and work side by side with them, and I feel like they share in this award with me. And then it's also just a privilege for me to work alongside all of our WebCorians, as I said, in meeting our purpose of building solutions and bettering lives. So thanks again.
Great. Congratulations again, Matt. Hey, just one quick follow-up question for you, and you kind of touched on it already. With being a leader at such a large organization, what do you do? How do you sustain a positive environment and culture over the last year and a half with the challenges of the pandemic?
Boy, it was a challenge at first, Brandon. I was just talking to our CEO last night and saying how he and I had dinner, and I was talking about how that first day when they shut things down in the Bay Area, and then where all construction was shut down there, and much of construction in our Los Angeles operations were shut down, seemed so daunting and so overwhelming. But just focusing on staying connected and being able to work with our technology group, and we all learned how to use Zoom really, really well, and we learned new ways to interact with our project teams that are working, because that's a challenge for us. I mean, we have to be on site during this pandemic. Construction is an on-site job, and so just being able to do that, I think, has really been able to, we've come up with new ways to check in with people and be there for them. And so I think that's been a key to keeping our sanity as we move through this and staying positive.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Paying close attention to people has been, a priority for all of us, I think. So thanks so much and congrats again. And Josh, I'll turn it back to you.
Congratulations. And thank you, Brandon. We appreciate you being part of our panel earlier and for presenting these two awards. All right, we are down to our final two awards of the year for CFO. Please welcome Joseph Mazza, Los Angeles and Southwest Market Leader with RSM. Joe, thank you for joining us again. Joe, you might still be on mute.
All right. Thanks, Josh. Let's start this all over again. I was trying to get really excited. I got so excited myself, I forgot to come off of mute. Congratulations to all the honorees, all the winners. It's so great to be here with you all today. As Josh said, I'm Joe Mazza. I'm the LA Southwest market leader for RSM. And at RSM, we've been proud to be part of this award program for more than 10 years. The primary reason that we're a diamond sponsor of this event is that we partner with CFOs like you every day. RSM is the largest firm globally that serves middle market businesses with audit, tax, and business consulting work. Through that support, we try to help you achieve your goals. I'd like to congratulate again the impressive CFOs here. I applaud your considerable efforts. And here we go. Are we ready? The first award I'm going to be presenting is for Public Company CFO of the Year. The finalists for this award are Philip Bond at B. Riley Financial. Phil plays a critical role in the firm's acquisition, investment, and financial management activities and oversees seamless integrations. Next is James Barge at Lionsgate. James is responsible for orchestrating all aspects of deal, financing, establishing, overseeing Lions' capital structure. And the final finalist is Karsten Vorman. Carson led GoodRx through its successful IPO in September 2020, raising over $1.1 billion in the biggest digital health public offering of the year. And this year's honoree, Phil on B. Riley, Public Company CFO of the Year. Phil, I'd like to ask you to unmute and say a few words.
Thanks, Joe. It's really an incredible honor to be recognized along with this impressive group of nominees. I'd like to thank the LA Business Journal as well as all the sponsors who have helped to put this event on each year. Appreciate your support, and hopefully we can all be physical next year. Also like to thank everyone at B. Riley Financial, starting with our leaders, Brian Riley and Tom Keller here, whose vision and leadership has really spurred the growth and success of B. Riley. I'd also like to thank my finance and accounting team led by Howard Weitzman and Patrick Murphy for all their hard work and dedication. The entire finance and accounting team has really done an incredible job throughout this past year in managing through the pandemic without skipping a beat. Thank you, team. And finally, I'd like to thank my wife, Laura, and my children, Connor and Charlotte, whose love and support is really what helps to propel and sustain me and just really means the world to me. In a lot of ways, I feel this award is also recognition for B. Riley Financial and the growth and success that we've been blessed with. We were founded as a boutique investment bank serving clients in LA and Southern California back in the late 1990s. And over the last 7 years or so, we've completed 5 major acquisitions, which has really helped to transform B. Riley into truly a diversified financial services firm. We have now over 2,000 employees across 200 locations nationwide who provide investment banking, wealth management, financial consulting, and advisory services to institutional and retail clients. And so I'm grateful to accept this award on behalf of B. Riley. Again, thank you, Joe. Thanks, Josh, and the LA Business Journal for this wonderful award.
Congratulations again, Phil. Quick question for you. You're responsible overseeing a lot of deal making. There's a lot of deals going on. What advice do you have for our CFOs out there? Everyone's chasing a deal.
Yeah, well, that's a great. It's I forget who earlier was talking about. I don't know if it was Brendan or Brian was talking about the hot markets and the M&A markets. I think you just got to be disciplined. We have a very stated strategy at B. Riley where we don't like to overpay and we do look for value. It's kind of hard to seek value in these types of markets. Obviously, well, with the exception of the last several days in the pullback, but I think you got to stick to your knitting and just make sure you don't get carried away with valuations.
It's great advice. Thanks. 1 + 1 should equal 3, and sometimes it doesn't equal 2 if you're not careful, I guess.
That's right.
Congratulations again, Phil.
Thank you.
Okay, this next award is a special one. It's one that we've created 7 or 8 years ago in conjunction with the Business Journal. We wanted to honor middle market businesses in Los Angeles, being the leader in the middle market from an accounting tax perspective. So we call this the RSM Middle Market Award. And this year's finalists this year's winner of the award is Scott Palladino, CFO of Garcoa. Scott is not only responsible for the finance of Garcoa and its family of companies, but he is also tasked with supporting IT and HR needs. Scott, we'd like to invite you to come off mute and say a few words.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you very much. I wish to congratulate all the nominees. We all know how hard all the CFOs have worked during the year, especially during this COVID time. Also want to thank the LA Business Journal for giving everyone an opportunity and the recognition for their achievements. I want to give a shout out to my employer, Garcoa, and the founders, Greg, Melinda, and Richie Rubin, giving me this opportunity to help continue to build out this organization as part of their senior management team to the next level and working on various strategic initiatives. We often say that it was divine timing that we met, bringing me on board, and I'm really grateful for them. And lastly, thank you, RSM and Joe, for this specific award. I've spent most of my career in the middle market, privately held firms. I enjoy helping the entrepreneurs build out their infrastructure and executing their vision, formalizing and establishing the controls and metrics that and implementing the new systems that most CFOs end up handling. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott. Congratulations. Question for you. Being in the middle market most of your career, if not all, what do you feel is the most critical aspect of your role?
I have found that, at least for me personally, what's really helped is the communication, and I enjoy mentoring not just people in the accounting department, but across all of the departments. And maybe that's my HR hat that I enjoy wearing. And not all CFOs get heavily involved day to day on the HR side, but I enjoy working with the various departments and working on the mentoring and just having a lot of patience to deal with a lot of the challenges that are thrown at the CFO each and every day.
Great. Well, thank you. Congratulations again, Scott.
Thank you.
Back to you, Josh.
Thank you so much, Joe. I'd love to just give a round of applause for all of our 2021 nominees, our finalists, and our honorees today. What an impressive group again this year. I want to remind you all that you're going to be able to read more about our CFO leaders in Monday's edition of the Business Journal, both print and digital. And additionally, if you would like to pass this along to anybody, if there's parts of it that you'd like to see again, there will be a recorded version of the entire program available on labusinessjournal.com. A huge congratulations to our entire financial community for all that you do. A big thank you to all of our sponsors for supporting this program and supporting our financial leaders. We look forward to hosting you, hopefully next year in person. Until then, please stay safe, everyone, and we'll talk then. Thank you so much.